Hey guys, what's going on? Happy Friday. Miss you. Sitting here from the kitchen table, getting ready to go to a gymnastics meet. Uh, Excited to do the read aloud with you. I didn't want to miss these great chapters that are going on. So we're going to get right into it because I know you got a busy day today. I hope you're behaving, doing the right thing. The math is going to be challenging this afternoon. It's all review, but we didn't ace it yesterday or the day before. So do the best you can. And those people that are doing really well, I'm sure the teacher will let you guys help each other and monitor each other as long as you're behaving. Don't get out of your seat. Don't get wild. Let's try to get all the answers at least explained in a way that you can understand with each other. All right. Don't give the answers, but you can guide each other. All right. So yesterday we left. Jack was talking to his mother, says, we do know this kid. We have seen him before and everybody knows him. He doesn't know us. That makes sense because if somebody has something unique about them, typically everybody knows about it. That doesn't mean that the kid who has the unique thing about them knows everybody, but you hear about these things and that, these rumors or gossiping, and that's what you hear. So when Jack was at Carvel, when he was a younger boy, with the babysitter, him and his brother, they ran into August and they know exactly what the issues are. So he didn't want to go. He doesn't want, he doesn't want to be in school in August. Who does? He wants to be home. To find out he has to go into school early for this. It's not something he wants to do. It's nice that the teachers thought he would be a good fit for this. He has proven to us, at least for the most part, that Mr. Tushman and the teachers that recommended him were correct, that they did, that he is a nice kid. And then we have that one blemish right now, which is a pretty big one. When he was talking with Julian about that, he thought that if he looked like August, he'd kill himself. So that's a painful thing to hear. And so let's get started. So he was at Carvel and they left. And the next chapter is Why I Changed My Mind. Justin, we're on page 139. Thank you. Who else did Mr. Tushman call? I asked Mom later that night. Did he tell you? He mentioned Julian, Charlotte. Julian, I said. Ugh, why Julian? You used to be friends with Julian. Mom, that was like in kindergarten. Julian's the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time. Well, said Mom, at least Julian agreed to help this kid out. Got to give him credit for that. I didn't say anything because she was right. What about Charlotte? I asked. Is she doing it too? Yes, Mom said. Of course she is. Charlotte's such a goody two-shoes, I answered. Boy, Jack, said Mom, you seem to have a problem with everybody these days. It's just, I started. Mom, you have no idea what this kid looks like. I can imagine. No, you can't. You've never seen him. I have. It might not even be who you're thinking it is. Trust me, it is. And I'm telling you, it's really, really bad. He's deformed, Mom. His eyes are like down here. I pointed to my cheeks. And he has no ears. And his mouth is like. Jamie had walked into the kitchen to get a juice box from the fridge. Ask Jamie, I said. Right, Jamie? Remember that kid we saw in the park after school last year? The kid named August? The one with the face? Oh, that kid, said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. He gave me a nightmare. Remember, Mommy, that nightmare about the zombies from last year? I thought that was because you were watching a scary movie, answered Mom. No, said Jamie. It was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, ah! And I ran away. Wait a minute, said Mom, getting serious. Did you do that in front of him? Mom, I couldn't help it, said Jamie. Of course you could have helped it, Mom scolded. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing here. And she looked like how she sounded. I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can you imagine how he felt to see you running away from him? Jamie, screaming? It wasn't a scream, argued Jamie. It was like, ah! He put his hands on his cheeks and started running around the kitchen. Come on, Jamie, said Mom angrily. I honestly thought both my boys were more sympathetic than that. What's sympathetic? Said Jamie, who was only going into the second grade. You know exactly what I mean by sympathetic, Jamie, said Mom. It's just, he's ugly, Ma, said Jamie. Hey, Mom yelled. I don't like that word, Jamie. Just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second. Look, Jack, said Mom as soon as he left. I knew she was about to give me that whole speech that parents give. Okay, I'll do it, I said, which completely shocked her. You will? Yes, I will. So I could call Mr. Tushman. Yes, Mom. Yes. I said yes. Mom smiled. I knew you would rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie. She messed up my hair. So, guys, here's the truth. Here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I wouldn't have to hear my mom give me a whole lecture. And it wasn't to protect this August kid from Julian, who I knew would be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because I heard Jamie talking about how he had run away from August, screaming, ah! I suddenly felt bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. You all know him. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, if he could be that mean, then August, he doesn't stand a chance in middle school. Very interesting. That shows a lot of heart there, saying, look, Julian's going to be a jerk, and I got to deal with jerks, and you got to deal with jerks, and August is going to deal with jerks. That's how it is. But there's enough good kids in there that kind of the jerks fade off to the background. But what Jack Will is saying is, if even a nice kid is going to be like that, then what chances August have? He is nobody. So Jack Will knows in his heart he's a good kid, even though we're all feeling, maybe you're not. Maybe you're worried about popularity too. But at this moment, you see the heart of Jack Will and says, all right, it's a good reason for why you wanted to change your mind. Next chapter, 4 things. First of all, you do get used to his face. The first couple of times I was like, whoa, I'm never going to get used to this. And then after about a week, I was like, it's not so bad. Second of all, he's actually a really cool dude. I mean, he's pretty funny. Like the teacher will say something and August will whisper something funny to me that no one else hears. And it totally cracks me up. He's also just, overall, he's a nice kid. Like, he's easy to hang out with. He's easy to talk to and stuff. Third of all, he's really, really smart. I thought he'd be behind everyone because he had gone to school before. But in most things, he's way ahead of me. I mean, maybe not as smart as Charlotte or Zima, but he's up there. And unlike Charlotte and Zima, he lets me cheat off him if I really need to. Though I've only needed to a couple of times. He also let me copy his homework once, though we both got in trouble for that in class. The two of you got the exact same answers wrong on yesterday's homework, Mrs. Rubin said, looking at both of us like she was waiting for an explanation. I didn't know what to say because the explanation would have been, oh, well, that's because I copied August's homework, word for word. But August lied to protect me. He was like, oh, that's because we did our homework together last night, which wasn't true at all. Well, doing homework together is a good thing, Mrs. Rubin answered, but you're supposed to still do it separately, okay? You could work side by side if you want, but you can't actually do your homework together, okay? Got it? After we left the classroom, I said, dude, thanks for doing that. And he was like, no problem. That was cool. Now, I know I'm a teacher, and cheating should never be accepted. Just do what you got to do. Do what you are. Nobody wants to see what somebody else has on your paper. However, I was also a young man and a kid and understand sometimes tests are hard. And Jack Will saying, listen, he helped me out. I don't want to justify it, but sometimes kids are being kids. Fourth, now that I know him, I would say, and I actually do want to be friends with August, At first, I admitted I was only friendly to him because Mr. Tushman asked me to be especially nice and all that. But now I would choose to hang out with him. He laughs at all my jokes and kind of feel like I could tell August anything. Like he's a good friend. Like if all the guys in the 5th grade were lined up against the wall and I got to choose to be with anyone I wanted to hang out with, I would choose August. So again, it shows you in his heart, he knows what's right, but he is a kid. Like he cheated. He does silly things where you don't think about it. You don't think about the consequences. He's talking behind August's back. I'm sure you guys have done something similar, not to the degree, but you don't know why you do it, and you don't think about the consequences till it's too late. These consequences, August overheard him. In a way, I'm glad August heard him so they could confront him about it later on, but you got to be aware of the choices you make because they come with consequences. Ex-friends, hate that. Bleeding scream. What the heck? Summer Dawson has always been out there, but this was way too much. All I did was ask her why August was acting like he was mad at me or something and figured she would know. And all she said to me was bleeding scream. I don't even know what that means. It's so weird because one day me and August were friends and the next day, whoosh, he was hardly talking to me. And I haven't the slightest idea why. When I said to him, hey, August, you mad at me or something? He shrugged and walked away. So I would take that as a definite yes. And since I know for a fact that I didn't do anything to him to be mad at me about, I figured someone could tell me what was up. But all I got from her was bleeding scream. Yeah, big help. Thanks, Summer. I've got plenty of other friends in school. So if August wants to officially be my ex-friend, then fine. Then it's okay by me. See if I care. If I started ignoring him like he's ignoring me in school now, this is actually kind of hard since we sit next to each other in practically every class. Other kids have noticed and started asking if me and August have had a fight. Nobody asked August what was going on. Hardly anyone ever talks to him anyway. I mean, the only person who hangs out with him other than me is Summer. I mean, sometimes he hangs out with Reed Kingsley a little bit, and the two Maxes got him playing Dungeons and Dragons a couple of times at recess. Charlotte, for all her goody two-shoe, doesn't ever do more than nod hello when she's passing him in the hallway. And I don't know if everyone's still playing the plague behind his back because no one really ever told me about it directly. But my point is that it's not like he has a whole lot of other friends he could be hanging out with instead of me. If he wants to diss me, he's the one who loses, not me. So this is how things are between us now. We only talk to each other about school stuff if we absolutely have to. Like I'll say, what did Ruben say the homework was? And then he'll answer. Or I'll be like, can I use your pencil sharpener? And I'll get my sharpener out of my pencil case for him. But as soon as the bell rings, we go our separate ways. Why this is good is because I get to hang out with a lot more kids now. Before, when I was hanging out with August all the time, kids weren't hanging out with me because they'd have to hang out with him. Or they would keep things from me. Like the whole thing about the plague. I think I was the only one who wasn't in on it. Except for Summer and maybe the D&D crowd. That's the Dungeons and Dragons crowd. And the truth is, though nobody's that obvious about it, nobody wants to hang out with him. Everyone's way too hung up on being in the popular group. And he's just as far from the popular group as anyone could get. But now I can hang out with anyone I want. If I wanted to be in the popular group, I could totally be in the popular group. Why this is bad? Because, well, A, I don't exactly enjoy hanging out with the popular group that much. And B, I actually liked hanging out with August. So this is kind of messed up. And it's all August's fault. Remember, in Jack's eyes, he did nothing wrong. He probably don't even remember saying what he said. Snow. The first snow of winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed. So we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about the whole August thing. And I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up to a snow day is just about my favorite thing in the world. Mine too, when I was a kid. I love that feeling. Excuse me. When you first open up your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you. Everything is quiet. No cars honking. No buses going down the street. Then you run over to the window and outside everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars in the street, your window pane. And when that happens on a school day, you find out your school is closed. Well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that's the best feeling in the world. And I'm never going to be one of those grown-ups that uses an umbrella when it's snowing. Ever. Dad, school was closed too. So he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if this is actually true or just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged up wooden sled, kind of propped up against the old Indian rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage. But something told me it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I super glued the broken slats together, and I wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing white with the paint I had gotten from the alabaster sphinx I was making for the Egyptian Museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning in gold letters on the middle pieces of wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol above the letters. It looked pretty professional, I have to say. Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you were right about that sled." The next day, we went back to Skeleton Hill with lightning. It was the fastest thing I've ever ridden, so much faster than the plastic sleds we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the snow had become crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips had turned a little blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had turned gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow to slush. When we got back to school on Monday, excuse me, there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation, a slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside, too. I nodded hey to August the first time I saw him. We were in the front of the lockers. He nodded hey back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't. So it's obviously, even though Jack Will says it's not bothering him any, August is the one who loses. You could tell that it's really Jack Will that's losing, that he's missing that friendship pretty much. Fortune favors the bold. I'm sure you don't know what that means. I'm sure a few of you, maybe Jacob in the back, probably might have heard of it. Maybe Max. Fortune favors the bold. Fortune means you get rich. Bold means you're not afraid to do something. So what that expression is saying is the people that get rich are the people that are willing to take chances, not afraid to put themselves out there. That's how opportunity happens. Instead of sitting back and doing nothing where nothing can happen to you. You'll be safe, yes, but nothing's going to happen. But for those of you that are not afraid to take a risk, that's going to lead to opportunity from time to time. So pretty interesting. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was fortune favors the bold. We were all supposed to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot. To be truthful, I have to say, I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read these out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them up on the bulletin board like he does sometimes. So instead, I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. I'm sure August had a lot of times in his life where he had to be brave, but you don't need a facial deformity to be brave. You're all brave every single day. You just got to think about it sometimes. Say, oh, yeah, you know what? That was pretty brave. Even sometimes raising your hand, you don't know the answer, going up to the board or attempting a math question that gives you a headache. It's easy to say, I'm not doing it. But, give it a shot. It might not be successful, but at least you're learning that failure is a part of life, and it doesn't mean you have to give up. Private school. My parents are not rich, by the way. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher and mom's a social worker, which means that they don't have those kind of jobs where people make a gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up. We rent from an old lady named Donna Petra, all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a bedroom. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I can work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. So boring. Dude, but it's like Paris, I said like an idiot. Believe me, it's boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh, wow, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee. Guys, that's called entitlement. So many of us would love to travel like around the world. I know, Bianca, you get to see such great things. I'd love to go to Europe and see things like that and see a fly on the wall at Paris. Pretty cool. But to Julian, it don't matter because he gets those kinds of things all the time. I laughed. Sometimes Julian could be very funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing me a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you doing over break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. Well, I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that is so amazing. And I was about to tell him about lightning, but then Miles started talking first. Yeah, I got a new sled too, he said. My dad got it from Hammacher Schlemmer. It's state of the art. That company, by the way, does a lot of race cars. So you can imagine how cool their sleds are. So Miles has got a pretty cool sled. How could a sled be state of the art? Said Julian. Well, it was like $800 or something. Whoa. We should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding? I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why they call it Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground. Duh, he said. Anyway, it could be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk. And believe it or not, someone took it. He left his sled there. Jack Will got a sled that was left there. And the crappiest piece of junk ever. Okay. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding. Hobo's another word for like homeless. Laughed Julian. Where did you leave it? I said. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill. And I went back the next day. It was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad could drive us all up to this golf course in Westchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where you going? I had started to walk away. I've got to get a book out of my locker, I lied. I just wanted to get away from them fast. I didn't want anyone to know that I was the hobo that had taken the sled. in science. This will be the last chapter for today. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but honestly, I can't say that I do. I like some parts of school, like phys ed, computer class. I love lunch and recess, but all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. I mean, it's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all this stuff we'll probably never need to know, like how to figure out the surface area of a cube or the area of a triangle or what the difference is between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never, ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in all my life. And I hate science the most out of all my classes. We get so much work. It's not even funny. And the teacher, Mrs. Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings on the top of our papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date on top. Crazy stuff. By the way, that's just teachers teaching you how to be organized and responsible. So while to a kid, it's like, what do I have to put a heading on my paper for? It's to teach you how to stay organized. That's why. You're going to eventually need that in your life. When me and August were still friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me, and I always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anyone I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down, perfectly with really small, round, looped letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I was kind of scrambling today, trying to take notes about what Miss Rubin was saying. My handwriting is awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about the 5th grade science fair project, how we all had to choose a science project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the freaking Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head, I was going, oh no. Like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of melting ghost face, the Home Alone face. And you can see how that looks like the Bleeding Stream face, which is longer. So now Bleeding Stream clicked in his head out of nowhere. That's how the mind works sometimes. I've seen somewhere where the mouths are open wide and they're screaming, and then all of a sudden, a picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what Summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came to me in a flash. Someone in homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, that was Augie. All of this hit me in science class while the teacher was talking. Oh man, I've been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I didn't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said. But guys, it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just that I knew Julian and everybody thought I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time. And I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along with everybody. I was stupid. I am stupid. God. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would have never said that stuff in front of Boba Fett. But I know that was him now. That bleeding scream, sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood. The mouth open wide. Like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Okay, that's it for today. What I want you to do now is you're going to go over to your Google Classroom, and on the stream, there's going to be a question, or on the assignments. Yeah, it's going to be on the stream. And the question is going to be, write a paragraph of a time you feel fortune favored the bold, meaning time that you took a chance or you showed bravery and you were rewarded from it. Okay? I want you to do your best, and I don't want you to sit here and tell me I don't have anything. I don't care if it's this small. I don't care if it's like, you know what? Instead of eating regular Cheerios, I tried Honey Nut Cheerios, and it was unbelievable. There you go. Something that simple. Okay, listen. Monday we find out what happens in science class when August and Jack will resume, or Jack will now knows why August isn't speaking to him, and Jack will now knows who's to blame for it. All right. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Excited for Monday. Circus begins on Monday. We get in Monday morning. Well, you're going to be in Circus World. They got the circus performers going to put on a show for us. You're going to be getting ready, starting picking your act. And we got a lot of fun for the next 2 weeks coming up. And I'm excited for you. I love it. It's one of the best points of the year. But as far as anything else goes, have a great weekend. Love you guys. Bye. How dare you? I try to bring joy to your life.